Welcome to Insight, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. How's your day going?
So far, so good. It's a Monday and no complaints.
I love that. I love the positivity, even on a Monday. How was September for you?
September was actually pretty awesome. It was record-breaking in the sense that my team kind of grew and we shrank all at the same time. We grew in the sense that Colin Summer, who was one of my ASDs, he got the elevation to being a sales director and very well-deserved.
Yeah.
So he had a group of guys who went with him and we went down by 5 as a collective number. But because I was still kind of managing a little bit of their, just the general numbers that they would hit, we ended up at 36.1 million, which is a team best. And some of the individual people on the team had their very best months. And that's one of the most exciting things to see when you're managing is, Jose Cardenas hitting 7.1 million is incredible as a number goes.
Insane.
I mean, Colin, he was number 3 in the company. He was right at 5 million. So, I mean, it was very impressive. And then I had 2 guys who, Corey Norris had never been over 3 million and he hit 3.1 million, and Anthony Dianati had never hit over 3 million and he also hit basically 3.1.
Wow.
So very, very proud moment to watch them, hit these incredible numbers for themselves.
Absolutely. Well, round of applause for those
Yeah,
guys and
absolutely.
for
Those guys
you.
did an amazing job.
How does it feel for you as a leader to see your own team grow like that?
It's tough to every day show up in this environment. The rates are still challenging. The cost of the rates is challenging. And it's sometimes days at a time that you don't get a win and you don't get a yes in the ways that you're hoping. So to watch these guys every week, every day show up ready to grind and ready to work and doing so with a smile. It was really, really awesome to watch them just have it all come together and be in a winning kind of attitude through the whole month. And I made them all a promise if we hit a certain funding number, which we beat it by about 20%, we would all go out as a team and have some fun. So on the horizon anyways.
Oh, I love that. Something to look forward to. Well, congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
When you guys are in months like that where they're tough, but they're successful and rewarding, what are some of the things you say to motivate your team?
It's tough. I would say we all motivate each other. There are days that are challenging from a managerial perspective in ways that they don't always see, but seeing them finding, their happiness with the calls that they take and team competitions and things like that, it reminds me this isn't just about me. This is about all of us. And every single one of us has kind of our own outside of work story in life that we're trying to achieve whatever we can while we're at work to make that out of office type of stuff go a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just reminding people of their own individual goals and their own trajectory that they have for their careers. And other people, it's sometimes just you're just better than this and you know this and you're going to do better just as soon as you can snap out of this. And for most of them, it's just a very quick conversation and then we're right back in business.
Right. It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you talked about personal motivations. Do you have any of yours that you want to share?
I'm actually pregnant with our 3rd baby. My wife, Lauren, has a couple months left to go and right around the holidays is when we're due. And that'll be baby boy number 3 and we'll have 3 under the age of 3.
Oh my gosh.
So with the miniature tribe of children that we've got going on, we do need to have the financial side dialed in order to afford that. But that's a big part of the motivation, providing for their futures and making sure that they have all the things that opportunity wise, education wise, and just in general experience wise that I've always wanted for myself or that I always had provided for me.
That's nice. Well, it sounds like they're going to be set up beautifully.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah. But you've got 2 boys.
Correct. 2 boys.
And the 3rd one.
And a 3rd one on the way.
Is also a boy?
Yeah.
How does that feel for your wife?
She was really sad in the sense that when we found out we were pregnant with twins, first she kind of cried. And then a couple weeks later, we found out it was 2 boys. And I cheered. I looked over. She's crying again. And I'm like, what's going on? And then we did an announcement, not really an announcement. We had a video that we were playing before the doctor did the genetic testing. We did a sneak peek type thing that we bought off of the internet and had a couple friends in town and they were filming us and revealed that it was a boy, but the whole video was prepped with pinks and light pastel colors. And we just assumed it was going to be a girl. And then the minute it was a boy, it was just like, well, here we go.
I mean, it's a letdown a little bit, but hey, I'm happy you guys are, having another one and hopefully it's just a healthy baby.
I was going to say, as long as there's healthy and happiness and involved in the baby side of things, then I'm good, regardless of gender.
Yeah, you can have a girl dog, maybe. It's possible.
Yeah,
It's possible.
there you go.
Well, you talked about your motivations for wanting to do well in work. How did you get started in mortgages?
I graduated from W.P. Carey School of Business at ASU.
Forks up.
And then from there, I remember looking at the Career Builder website and posting my resume. I had places reach out and I did interviews, and it just wasn't... the income wasn't where I was hoping it would be after 4 years of education. And just the upward mobility took so much time to invest with them that I was a little less excited about those things. So I had a recruiter reach out to me and went and sat in a 30-person interview and ended up from there asking them the question, how the income would look. And they gave me a number that was, at the time, it was somewhere around 72,000 if you're good, is what they said.
Wow.
And I kind of laughed and I was like, all right, well, I don't plan to be good. I plan to be much better than good. So I think this might be an opportunity that I can really grab and kind of hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I got the call that I was one of the people who was selected to come back in and proceed with hiring. And I would probably say that was January 28th, 2008 was my first day in mortgages. And it's just been not all easy since then, but it's been very rewarding and a lot of growth.
Wow. Well, that's a story right there. 2008, you said?
Yeah.
So that's around the time of the housing crisis, right?
That was very much the time.
Yeah. What was that like for you in the beginning of your career?
Yeah.
Seeing something like that, how was that not like discouraging? What was that like for you?
Generally, it was a lot of family members asking, what are you thinking? Why would you do that? Yeah. You do realize that this is a industry that's on its head right now, right? And my logic was always, people are not going to stop needing homes. And those who already have them need to refinance them at some point. Mm-hmm. And those people who don't have one, which at the time I was one of those people, I am going to need to buy one. And nobody's paying cash for their homes, at least not most of us. So I kind of looked at that as this is a never ending cycle of need. I should probably be a part of that.
Wow. And do you think that kind of market has made you resilient to markets like today?
It was a different kind of challenge. The rates were not nearly as challenging then as they are now. It was the values of homes had dropped so severely that people didn't have enough equity to do a refinance in any capacity. Mm-hmm. The short sales and the foreclosures were at an all-time high. Home values were dropping like crazy as a result. We had a product called HARP, the Home Affordability and Refinancing Program, I think is what the acronym was for. Mm-hmm. But that was a scenario where you could essentially do a refinance where your home was very heavily underwater, but it was kind of based on your payment history and credit profile that they would still give you options to help out. And there was a lot of homeowners who fell into that capacity. I mean, some of the people who were working at the time, it had just massive pipelines of self-serviced, at B of A type stuff that would take 3-4 months to close because there wasn't enough people working to handle the volume.
Wow.
But it was very easy to find people to write loans for. The hardest part was closing them because it took so long. And you didn't really have, the same struggle as this market. This market is purely the rates are so expensive that the payments are very challenging. Back in that time frame, it was more just the ability to find enough equity to allow them to do what they needed to do and to then be able to save the money that they were hoping. So same problem, needing to save money, different reason though.
Right. Which is why I feel like you guys wouldn't discourage people from jumping in now in a market like this, because there's always going to be a challenge. If
someone can come in this market and really learn the fundamentals of what takes, a person from just being a mortgage, loan officer to being a successful mortgage loan officer, they will realize very quickly as soon as the market rates subside a little bit here, not even as much as they were years ago, but even just a little bit, it will make them one of the very best salespeople and most effective people that they can be in that mortgage realm. I think that those who are trying to come in, and learn without any experience right now, the learning curve is no different than if they had a better rate market. They're just learning to sell a little bit higher cost, a little bit higher rate. And they don't even know what's on the horizon as soon as rates and price tags dip a little bit.
Right. So what do you think it takes for you to be a successful loan officer?
I think the hardest thing is your discipline that it takes to show up every single day. Sometimes you're going to have the market play a little bit against your favor. Other times your opportunities are not given to you, whether it's because of your age or whether it's because of your length of time in the industry. And I remember being held back at one point because I was deemed too young and too young in the industry to be eligible for a role in management, even though I looked at the person who got the role and I felt as though my skill set and my ability level was at the very least the same, if not in excess of theirs. So at that point in time, I made it a very specific personal goal. Age, duration in this career path, those things don't matter. The way that I am perceived by my peers, by just hard work and sheer determination, those are going to be what define me as a banker. And I started to truly carve out my name and make sure that I was always towards the top instead of the bottom.
Yeah. And do you think IHL gives people that opportunity to move forward despite their age and experience and things like that?
I think IHL does a better job of that than any company I've ever been at. There's always been an emphasis of taking anyone who has the desire, who has the drive, and if they don't have the skill set, that can be taught. Mm-hmm. One of the hardest things to teach is effort and determination. And when we have so many people who either have very limited mortgage experience or sometimes no mortgage experience, one of the gentlemen on my team who just funded a little over 1.5 million, Shah Danishar, he doesn't have previous mortgage experience at all. So he has been a sponge for the last, 3-4 months on the floor. And I think he loves what he does. He shows up with a smile. He's working a lot of hours and it's by choice. Nobody's asking him to stick around and be the last person in the office every day.
But he does it anyways.
But he's doing it because he has a taste of what the success can look like. And I think that there's a lot more of that type of person out there who just don't know where to get their foot in the door in this industry. And if they come to IHL, I think they're going to realize that the amount of support, not only from their immediate manager, but from all bankers, or in this case, all loan officers, and also all management, I think they're going to recognize very quickly that this is just not a place that you call a job. It's a place that you call home and that you actually consider as your career.
Yes, that's so true. Well, for you, being a sales director yourself, what's been like the most rewarding part of that journey for you?
Man, I would say it is the opportunities for people who don't do the model the way that we do. The business model is very different for us and how we get to the finish line, from the way that we write a mortgage off of the call queue all the way through how we incubate that for the 3 weeks, 4 weeks that it takes to get to the point of funding it. There's a lot more hands-on work that gets done by the mortgage loan officer side of things. Mm-hmm. And I would say that early on, realizing we had so many different investors to learn how they operate, how to navigate their systems, it was a really cool thing being able to kind of elevate to a point where you, at one glance, if someone has a question, which investor is the right fit, which, kind of product is going to be the best fit. And it's kind of like getting a new phone. You get a new phone, it takes a week or so to really figure out all the features. And that's kind of like working at IHL. It's almost like getting a new phone every month, every couple months, because there's always new investors. There's always updates to guidelines, or there's always changes on the horizon. So it's very fast paced, and it is very fun to be able to be a part of this type of thing because you're never done learning.
Right.
You're learning from bankers or from loan officers who are, under you. You're learning from other sales directors. You're learning from Eric and Bill. You're learning from all of the, the leadership group. And it's been a lot more eye-opening in the sense that you can actually be a much more hands-on person with all pieces of this rather than just the small bits that you're allowed to be a part of from previous companies that we've all worked at.
Right. And you mentioned a phone update. At the end of the day, the phone's only getting better. So your opportunity here just keeps on getting better and better here.
Absolutely.
I want to know how you got into a leadership role, because you mentioned starting in mortgages in 2008. So how did you start in leadership?
Well, when I was first wanting to break into leadership, that's when I was told I was too young. My resume, I don't think even got read. I didn't get a chance to interview at all. And even though my production numbers made sense, it just kind of felt like I got swept to the side. I left that company and went to another company. And it wasn't until I tried to resign a few years later that they offered me 3 promotions. And I kind of was at that point a little past the point of wishing to manage at that particular company. And then, I'd always known Eric. Him and I had worked together along with a lot of the other people on the leadership side. We had worked together since, 2008. When I heard what Eric was doing at the company that, we all used to work at, when I came in there, it wasn't much longer than probably max a year. And I got promoted into an assistant managerial type of role. And at one point, right as the market kind of did a little collapse on us at the beginning of 2017, he had sat me, to the side and said, "Hey, look, I know that we're going to get you elevated at some point here. Like, I know that the market didn't play into our timing and our plan here at this moment, but if you have a little bit of confidence and trust in me, I don't make promises I don't intend to keep." And he's held true to that from the day that I met Eric. It was one of those things where I've always wanted to manage because it allows me to help elevate other people and implement some of my knowledge and train essentially a little bit. And I enjoy all of those pieces. Eric was the first to really ever give me the true platform to do that, first as an assistant manager. And then, from there at the previous company, it was called an SVP, so senior vice president. And when I came here, the unique part, Eric has always wanted to make sure that every manager that works with him kind of goes through the same growth and experiences that others have to go through. So I didn't just start as a sales director. I sat down as an executive mortgage loan officer, and it was realistically from January of 2024 through, end of May 2024, I was required to sit down and answer calls and write loans and fund loans the same way as anyone else would.
Wow. At IHL, even though you had been in past managerial roles?
Yeah.
Wow. That's unique. I kind of respect that model because it keeps you understand what your own team is going through every day.
Yeah.
It keeps you fresh.
It was 100% an important piece because, towards the tail end, it was one of those things where I kind of realized, okay, I've got most of this figured out systems wise and who to go to for what and when to go to them and why. And it was around that same time I met with Eric a little bit and he asked how I was doing with everything. And I said, I think I've got it mostly figured out now. I mean, my numbers for fundings were starting to make some sense. The goal has always been, if you can be around 2 million or more, that's what we'd like to be. Can't always get there every month, but we had a couple good months in a row. And then from there, I was able to, June of last year, 2024, really jump into this sales director role and kind of get my feet wet with that. It's been a very exciting experience. I mean, it's not just me going about it by myself. I learn from my peers and I ask a lot of questions of, Bill Scatina, Still of Eric, other sales directors. I lean on them a fairly good amount because, if they're even 1 month doing better than I am or 2 months doing better than I am, then that means that I have something that I can learn from them too.
Yeah. So it's not about being the smartest in the room. It's, surrounding yourself with other people who you can learn from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Okay. Well, we talked a lot about work. I want to know who Tim is outside of work.
Well, I mean, once I had kids, it's a primary focus of family. I do enjoy going to different car events. I'm a kind of a gearhead, as it were. I try to get some of the guys who I know are into cars kind of interested in some of that. And we talk cars.
What kind of cars?
I drive a Porsche. I have an old Corvette. I have an old 50s truck. That was actually my first car when I turned 16 and it still sits out in Colorado. I just don't have enough garage space for it.
Wait, that's so cool. I love old trucks. I think they're so nostalgic. It also reminds me of the Cars movie, which we love. But anyways,
sure.
You drive that one still or no?
So the Corvette I drive, it's kind of a garage queen because it's old enough that it's easy to break into and I'm not really willing to risk a sentimental kind of vehicle. My dad actually restored that when I was a toddler from the frame up.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole book of photos with me, wearing diapers and with a pacifier.
Protege.
Hanging out, watching him do his work. And then the truck, that was actually a farm truck at first. And me and my dad from the age of 14 until I turned 16, we'd spend time every night after school and on the weekends kind of sanding everything down, doing all the work to get it back into condition to be able to drive it. And then obviously the only car that I don't really do my own work on is the Porsche. It's a little bit, a little more involved than I'm trying to be at home at my current setup here. So,
That's fair. Yeah. Anything else outside of cars?
I mean, I work out every day. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, get to the gym, and then usually from sometime between 6 and 7 a.m., I'm listening to calls for the people on the team, seeing who I can possibly help. On the weekends, I try to get to the trails. I live up in the McDowell Mountain area, and I'll go run the mountain and try to get some extra exercise in that way.
That's nice. Some vitamin D, some sunshine.
Yeah.
Well, it's the perfect time of year now for that. It's not.
It is.
It's not triple digits anymore, thank God.
Agreed.
Yes. Well, when you're on your way to work, What kind of music do you listen to? Or are you like a silent person?
A lot of the times it's spent listening to calls for our team just to make sure where I can help I am. But it is also a mixture of hip hop and rap. Growing up, it was all hip hop and rap. And then probably, I would say 17, 18, when I started getting into late high school, into early college days, it was really just starting to kind of kick off as being available to listen to like electronic music. So there's a mixture of all of that. And then there's still the occasional, like oldies that pop in that my parents influenced, and classic rock from like the 70s and things like that too.
Nice, a little blend of everything.
Yeah, it's a very confusing playlist for most people in the car.
That's what mine looks like. You don't want to look at mine. Did you grow up in Arizona or no?
I'm actually from Colorado originally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, what did you come down here for college then?
I did. It was a mixture of, it was close enough to home that if I ever had to rush home, I could drive if I needed to. It was far enough away from home that being an only child, I didn't have to grow up with my parents' influence and kind of constant helicoptering around me. But it was also the weather. You know, the cars that I like to drive don't really do so great in snow. And yeah, I definitely chose the sunny and the hot as much as I possibly can and as often as possible.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't go back to the cold if I could.
It's nice to visit the cold. It's just not nice to live in it, because then you get stuck having to do all the like kind of snow shoveling and starting your car for 20 minutes to thaw it out. And yeah. So
you went to ASU.
I did.
What did you study at ASU?
I was a marketing major at the W.P. Carey School of Business.
Wow. Okay.
It was supposed to be finance and accounting. And then I realized that those classes were Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they were like 7:30 p.m. And there was not much chance that I was going to make, especially the Friday ones. But yeah, it was a smart shift. Marketing and sales go much more hand in hand than does finance and accounting.
They do. Well, I mean, I feel like you could apply anything from an ASU degree. I'm a little bit biased, but I love that. What was your favorite on-campus memory for you?
Man, we're going back a ways. It was 2007 when I graduated. I would actually say that my most fun experiences were probably going to the football games, especially when you're a freshman and you're living right on like the dorms that are walking distance to everything. It's you, it's all of your friends. It doesn't matter if people don't like football or don't even care about sports. It's about the kind of building friendships, some of which have turned into lifelong type things, and really the social interactivity that you get with everyone who chooses to go to those. It was always the case that right up until I showed up to go to school at ASU, that they had this unbelievably talented football team. And then I feel like every year since then, since I went, they've been a little left to be desired.
Yeah. It's a little embarrassing, but hey, you still love your team at the end of the day.
You do.
It is
Absolutely.
what it is.
They're still our alma mater,
Yeah, exactly. You think you're going to make your kids go to ASU or no?
Wherever they want to go and whatever they want to do, I'll happily support them as long as they have direction and purpose in life. So if they want to go to ASU, absolutely.
Well, you talked about your kids a lot. I want to know if fatherhood has influenced your work at all or your perspective here.
A lot. I sometimes find myself making decisions not so much for me anymore. A large portion of those are questions of, well, how would this affect my family? Or, is this something that if I was going to do this, the way that I'm doing it is different in the sense that I'm more patient. The ways that I interact with clients, especially, is probably a lot more understanding. People making decisions for their families is not so much their own personal decision. So my patience level with them needing to hear more or sometimes think through something rather than just trying to aggressively get them to agree to move forward right on the spot. The ways of managing people, a lot of the bankers that I work with are, they're newer. They're trying to figure out, and I don't mean newer to the industry maybe, but newer to our model. They're still trying to figure out as they go every day how to be effective in the best ways possible here. Understanding all of that when having, the 2.5-year-old boys that I've got at home who don't know a whole lot of life experience, who are going to learn by trial and error. Mm-hmm. I'd rather there be more trial than error for a lot of these bankers. So I try to implement those things as patiently as I can. With all things, there's, going to be things that need to be taught and retaught multiple times before we get it. And if I grow impatient with them, they're going to grow frustrated even more so than they already are. So trying to maintain that everyone's here doing exactly as they can, the best way that they can, is always a very important piece of my day.
Absolutely. Well, you got to go to Champions Club this year. What was that experience like for you?
It was very fun. I mean, it's always fun. Eric takes a great amount of time and effort to make sure that every experience is cultivated to a point where every person feels like not only they're part of a family and that they're with their families while they're there, but that there is never any, I would say, expense spared or thought for creativity or in general, just an experience that you're not likely to repeat again involved. And the whole trip from the time that we landed, when I say landed, first in Miami, where we had a really fun, amazing dinner at Hakkasan, to the next morning when we flew into, St. Kitts and Nevis, and we had an experience waiting right off the bat that was a VIP experience for all of us with food and drinks and, a private shuttle to get us to the Four Seasons. All of this stuff was just incredible. And every day waking up and getting to dictate what time you wake up. And then the biggest decision of your morning is, well, am I going to the beach cabana or am I going to the pool cabana?
Choices.
Or do I want to go get, breakfast at the buffet first? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to go explore the local area here and maybe go do some touring?
Yeah.
It was just a really, really exciting thing. And then the beach parties that we had, both the welcome and the goodbye one, they were just so thoughtfully put together. The music presentation, the food presentation, the decor, it was just on a whole different level. Mm-hmm. And it's just par for the course with Eric. Everything that he does, including the whole background with how we are operating as a company, it's done differently. It's done with purpose, and it's done at a level that not many can do it at. Mm-hmm. So it was a great experience to go to, Champions Club this past year, and hopefully we can get there again this coming year.
I'm rooting for you.
It's going to be very cool in Aruba.
Yes. Have you been to Aruba before?
I have. I've been there one time. I actually went with Eric and a handful of the people who were here.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. And, I can only imagine that this time around, it's going to be a little bit more elevated hotel experience and no expense spared experience type of thing. It'll even be that much more exciting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
other than Aruba, do you have any other dream travel locations?
I would say I think it'd be extremely cool to get a group to go out to Italy. I've been there, but only one time. Italy was probably the only experience that I've had where after 2.5 weeks there, landing here, it was the first question on my mind was, so can we just go back now?
Turn the plane around.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not just about the wine or the food. It's about the people, the culture, the history. And it's so fun. And you walk everywhere so you can have your guilty pleasures of eating and drinking whatever you want, and somehow you manage to look exactly the same because you're walking everywhere you go.
Yeah,
but it's just
rich.
Amazing.
It's rich there. I love it.
It's very cool.
I love that. That's a dream to go there. I've been to my family's from Morocco, so very Mediterranean area, but Italy's a dream. So if it's a majority thing, I think we can definitely make this Champions Club 2027.
Oh,
Italy.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Since you've got Eric's ear, I'll wait for that announcement.
I'll try my best. Well, since we're talking about the future of IHL, where do you see that going in the next few years?
I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how crazy it is from the first day I walked in when we occupied only the bottom floor of the Sky Song building. And already we were shifting around seats, trying to determine who would sit where. Will someone need to work remote, a day here and there just to make sure that there's enough places to sit? To then expanding to the third floor and then running out of space up there. Now there's Michigan, there's Miami, there's other offices that are on the horizon. I mean, my only thought would be that it's probably got no end in sight in a way that's structured in terms of its growth. Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing about how Eric and the leadership side has, really put everything together. One department doesn't grow without the other departments growing. And it's because if you grow one department too quickly, then the other departments feel the effects of that. And I think Eric has always done very well at that. So I think that with the structured growth, albeit quicker than what we've ever done previously at different, levels, I think that you're going to find that IHL becomes at some point a household name. I don't know when that time frame will be, if it's a year from now or if it's 5 years from now. But with the growth that we've already started to show and the numbers that we've already started to put in place, we are becoming, a very standard name amongst the mortgage industry and the people who are in it. It's only a matter of time before it becomes a household name as well.
Yep. I'm putting it out there. Well, what about the future for Tim? What does that look like?
Oh, man. Aside from being a full-size van driving dad whose family of babies keeps growing, I would say that, one of my big ambitions is to become a little higher level in management. The next level would be the regional sales director side. And that would be a really awesome, kind of growth step for me. And obviously the amount of opportunities that this company affords, a big portion of that is going to be on my shoulders to kind of navigate that process and really help myself to achieve it.
Yeah. Well, I can see you doing nothing short of that. So
well, hey, thanks. I appreciate
wishing
it.
you the best. We'll be cheering you on. And hopefully you can watch this video in a few years and be like, wow, if only he knew where this guy would take him. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
No, I mean, it's just, I think that we've got an awesome thing going here. Our company, the people who are within it, if you ever walk a lap around this office, I haven't been to the Miami office yet, or the Michigan office. I mean, I've been there, but they were not functional yet. But I would imagine that those are no different than here. If you walk around, you're seeing a culture that is very elevated. People are happy. People are joking. People are having fun. And sometimes when you enjoy what you do, it's less of a day-to-day job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get to Thursdays, we get to Fridays, and it's like, man, that week went by really quick.
Yeah.
But it's not because you're so stressed out that you can't figure out, you know, like which way is up.
Like the stiff shoulders he was talking about, none of that.
100%. You just enjoy coming to work. And when you enjoy doing it, it's not really work. It's just your day-to-day 8 to 6, 8 to 5, whatever it is, the hours that people are choosing to work. I feel like people are very happy here.
I love that. Well, you made us very happy today with a great episode. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a good week.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you so much for having me.